All right. Peace, 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 everybody. It's Amiri Israel, your host, and we're back with another episode of Black Dad Creatives. And we are here with a very, very special guest, Cubs the poet from New Orleans. Very, very creative brother. Welcome,
What's
brother.
going
How
on?
you doing today,
Th-
man?
Thank you for having me, man. It's definitely a blessing to be a part of anything you're doing, man. I look back at those interviews we did in the past, and
Right.
and I'm happy to have this one to kind of have it as another marker in
No
terms of
doubt.
like where we at in life and stuff.
No doubt. So show thyself a man. Shout out to show thyself
Yes,
a me.
yes, 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 yeah.
Yeah. But once again, I always appreciate you, man. Every time we get together and chop it up. Today, we just want to bring light to fatherhood and as well as your creativity and what you do. So, if you could get into it, just give us a little bit of your background, if you may, and a little bit about you as a poet and what you have going on.
Well, and this is a little exercise I like to do because I don't like talking about myself. But
Mm-hmm.
let me see what you know and what you think about who I not who I am, but what you observe as a
Right,
man and a father. What do you see with
man.
with, with what I'm doing and who I am and
You
then
know,
let's see let's
that's a twist to this segment. I'm glad you asked me that because I definitely appreciate you as a first of all as a human being, bro. You're you're not only are you creative, but you're a good spirit. And it's all like I said, it's always a pleasure chopping it up when we get together and we talk and discuss certain things and balance creativity amongst each other, man. And definitely love what you're doing with your daughter, man. You definitely, it's like I said, that good spirit. I think it's important for all fathers to have a good spirit. A good spirited person is ready for fatherhood, man. And not to mention, man, the dopeness of how you come with your. Not only are you a poet, but the way you deliver it. You know what I'm saying? Now I would like you to go into how it all started. So first of all, since the scope is on me, I'd like to share how we met. So
okay.
we met on Frenchman Street, which is a popular street in New Orleans, of course. But you had the typewriter. You were like a poet on the spot. You know what I'm saying? You had
Hmm.
a typewriter, and you saw me and my family together. And you actually stopped us and was like, "Can I write a poem for y'all?"
Mm,
And it was just so dope, man. It was a heartfelt poem. It was dedicated to our family. You know what I'm saying? And so I definitely, first of all, appreciated that. And that just speaks on what type of person we're dealing with when we talk about Cubs the poet. So I just once again salute you, man. Tilt my hat to what you do and how you do it. I
uh-huh.
tilt my hat to how are present in your daughter's life, man.
Well,
But
see, this is great because you know there's so many. My life, man. Everybody's life is very complex and dynamic. But I'm in New Orleans. I was born in Baton Rouge. I went to college in New Orleans at Dillard, but I grew up in D.C. and Maryland, and a lot of people that know me in New Orleans don't know, or what they do know about me. They know Cubs the poet, but as a person, I actually have an 11-year-old son that's in Maryland that I had when I was 21, right before I went back to college. So the fatherhood thing is very unique to me personally, not only because I've had a great father and a great grandfather and, a lot of great role models in my life, but to have a son at 21 and then to grow, mature, go through, that whole phase of finding myself, all my 20s. I'm 31 now and I had my daughter when I was 30, 29, 30. And to see who I am now and then look back at who I was as a father then, it's truly like I appreciate you saying my spirit is good because it was truly a test in growing and maturing and realizing the responsibilities that I have and not only guiding the son but but also a daughter, and having a daughter I mean, I come
What
from
a
all
kind
boys.
of-
It's a whole nother world, man. Like I think my son really was having a son really challenged my mindset because it was like, well, I started readjusting and looking at myself as a man, as a person. Who do I want to be? And then having a daughter, that just opened my heart, man. My heart is, I mean, I see it. Like most of my poetry coming up was very like metaphorical or like bars, like being able to like just flex the skill set. And then when I had a daughter, I started writing more love poems. It's like,
right.
man, like everybody gets love, and I think part of that is true to how that father-daughter dynamic relationship is, but it's also kind of like putting out that good karma,
Yeah.
because you want people to treat your daughter with so much love and so much respect. So it's like for me to try to initiate that, and not only initiate it but to see it,
Right.
it's I mean, man. Uh, but
Yeah.
I thought I met you with Ray, but
Well,
I
he was
must
with
have.
us. He was with us
I
that
was
night.
with Ray. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, he was
No,
with
he
y'all.
was with us. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Ray Wimley, dope street artist, man. Not even just a street artist, but a rapper in general, man.
Yeah, that man's a rapper, bro. I mean, not only that, man. That man's a father, man. That man.
Yes.
That man. I
Yeah.
mean, I take my hat off to Ray because he still goes. I thought when I met him, I knew him at Dillard. When he used to, I think he was at UNO and he would come do open mics. And it's just something about a poet. It don't even matter. Initially, it doesn't matter your wordplay, but the way you make the people feel when you speak. He always had that moment. Like whenever he would get on that mic and you hear his voice, you knew he was present. And
Right.
then just to see him develop and take it to the street, and then I found out he had kids at the time, and then just to see him go, because I know what it takes to be out on the street, man. I started out there while I was at Dillard. I would go out every day with my typewriter from like 11 to 4, 11 to 7 and type. And there were some days, man, when nobody would stop and get a poem. So I was just writing my own poetry. And just to see him out there rapping, it's just like, man, like it takes a certain focus and discipline. But
Right.
then to see him have more children and to go even harder, it's
Right.
just an inspiration to like to witness that. You know what I mean? So I guess seeing y'all together, my mind subconsciously said, yo, I got to write for this man and his
Yeah.
family, because
Yeah.
that whole law of degrees and connection.
No doubt. No doubt. So, what actually gave you the idea? What made you start to do poetry the way you did it in such a unique way? And actually, you actually opened up a whole new brand in New Orleans. You seen a lot more people setting up their typewriters in the middle of the street and on the sidewalks and all that. So you kind of started that in New Orleans. But what prompted you to do that? How did that all begin?
Yo, man, I don't have. I'm not going to go off into giving examples because I know a lot of people don't. I'm not going to say that. A lot of people. Let's just say like this, man. I was driven at an early age. My grandmother, my parents, they all put. I'm the first grandchild on my dad's side. Uh, they put in a lot of time and love when I was right before schooling. So they would teach me how to read, teach me how to write, how to think, and I remember getting into the classroom and like falling asleep because I'm like, yo, I know what teaching is. My family, they're teachers, and like I come into a classroom, and I'm not disrespecting anybody that takes on teaching as a profession, but there is a slight difference in somebody that's operating from love and
Right.
someone who's operating from a job or a paycheck mentality. Like this is my
Yeah.
job, I'm getting paid, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's another story. If we want to go into that, we can. But I say all that to say I grew up in the school realizing this is not the best way to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kept my mind open outside of school. So I went on up to college, started studying marketing. Realized the same shit I realized in elementary school. These teachers aren't really teaching us how to be ourselves, but more so what to be like. And
Right.
which in the system is how you keep the system going, any system. But I think like when it comes to individuals, there's a way to nurture an individual to be a part of the whole, but you first have to teach that person how to be themselves and love themselves. So I switched marketing and went to psychology, but the psychology is still set up in school, set up to think in terms of whatever the system is going towards, you know. So I said, oh shit, y'all teaching me how to think like these psychologists that we're studying. I want to think for myself. You know, how do I develop my own thought?
You're
And
basically
so
trying to teach you how to get a job in psychology, so to
well,
speak.
yeah, exactly, and how to help people who have, you know, these quote unquote learning disabilities, so
Mm-hmm.
you can assign them some prescription medication, so you can
Right.
also stimulate the medical and pharmaceutical industry to keep it all in the system, right? So it's just like, so, and then I mean, I don't know, some of that shit might work, you know, it works, but I just feel like if you start at a certain level with the person and give them the responsibility to be themselves and love themselves, they attract something. So I'm during junior year studying psychology. I took the summer break. I went back up to Maryland to stay with my parents, and I woke up from sleep. And when I woke up, something said, "What do you want to be? What do you want to do?" And so I wrote this poem. It's called "Do You Like Poetry?" And it was the first poem I ever wrote, and I memorized.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it to the street, and so I started reciting it. Everybody that would walk by on the street, I would say, "Hey," and this is why I love Ray so much because I see so much of what he does and what I do. It's like every person that walked by, I would look at them in their face and say, "Do you like poetry?" They would say, "Yes, no, I don't like to read. How much does this cost? What do you really want?" But I realized that was an exercise in me being confident
Mm-hmm.
and present in what I decided to do and committed.
Right.
So I did that for the summer, and towards the end of the summer, this lady came up to me and said, "Hey, I'll pay you to recite in the store. I'll give you some money." I said, "Oh shit, this is great! Like I'm about to get paid to do what I love." It
Yes, sir.
only took a summer. It only took 3 months. No, but she walked me and showed me her store, and she had a typewriter in the store. And I said something in my mind said, "Hey, don't pay me your money. Give me that typewriter." So
Right.
she gave me the typewriter, and then that was just the beginning of it because I felt, and I'm looking back, like where I am now, I'm able to express what I was thinking then, but I didn't have the words for it. But
Mm-hmm.
what I realized is everybody is a poem. And when they teach us poetry in school, it's just like psychology. You're teaching us somebody else's perspective. And because we say that they are great, like these are great psychologists, these are great poets, because you can read that and relate to what they're going through. And some of that is true, but on a deeper level, you still go through what you go through. How do we get that out?
Right.
How do we help other people see who you are? And then that's kind of just what propelled me to into this whole spontaneous custom poetry
Mm-hmm.
that I started out, you know, 7 years ago in the French Quarter, sitting on Royal Street.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
and I guess to fully answer that, man, I think part of it is just who I am, who I've been, you know, this mind I've been given, but also just being able to open myself up to just a higher guidance, man, and just like listening to the signs and seeing the signs that are presented before me. Like, you know, let me go one more step deeper. Like our eyes and our ears are conditioned to say, when I see this, I'm attracted to it, or it's ugly, or I don't like it. We've been conditioned through school, through society, through media, and I think a part of my mindset detached from that. And it said, no, whatever my eyes look at, whatever my mind hears, whatever my senses pick up is for me. And I get to construct the meaning of all of this. I get to figure out what it means to me. And I
Right.
think that that keeps me going as a poet. Because like I say, everyone is a poem. Everyone is a poem. And if I can approach life like that, people like that, that's a beautiful thing, and that's kind of what keeps me going, and also what helped me find this path.
No doubt. No doubt. That's all love and beautiful right there. So, were there any influences you had growing up, like maybe hip hop artists or any type of artist dealing with poetry that you were inspired by or influenced by?
Um, I would definitely say, I mean, growing up, um, my dad would always have he would always pick me up from school, pick me up in the car, and he would always have at the time all I knew was, hey dad, play that white cassette tape. And come to find out that was Bob Marley's Legend album. And so I mean we would play that shit all every time he picked me up, or every time I would think for him to play it.
Right.
And so I would say early on it was Bob. And then when I kind of started growing up and hanging out with kids and my friends, uh, I don't really think music was a main thing in the 90s for me. It was more so the vibe. But like when I got into middle school, my dad once again gave me Jay-Z's Blueprint. He put it in the car. He said, hey, man, check this out. So I remember that day because we were going to basketball tryouts and he put in the Blueprint. And then that shit blew my mind. Just like not knowing anything. I mean, eighth grade, you think you know some shit,
Right.
but like
Right.
you
You
don't
know,
know nothing. And for like somebody like Hove to be the one to open up that love for like, oh man, what, like, how is he talking like this? How is he flow?
yeah.
Like, at this age, I'm like, that's flow. How is he flowing like that? And then, so I would say Jay is like a big inspiration poetically, because that man's a poet in my mindset.
No
And
doubt.
then as I started like growing up and reading more, and I read a lot growing up, but I think I can't pinpoint one person I read. I mean, because I could say Dr. Seuss, I could say Shel Silverstein, I could say a whole bunch of these people I read growing up. Um, but I think when I got into like high school, college, I started reading this cat named Albert Camus, and he's a French. They call them existentialists, like these people who deal with how do we exist in this world? What does it mean to exist and to think on a metaphysical level? But he was very poetic in how he looked. That's stuck with me. It's called the Myth of Sisyphus. Story about this man who is strong enough to carry the world on his back, but he has to carry it up a mountain. And then when he gets to the top of the mountain, that rock falls down. The world falls down. So he has to go back and pick it back up. And that's his job. And Camus related that shit to everyday living. Like we all have this great gift of thinking. But like I said earlier, it flows like the ocean. Like, it's like a high and a low.
All right. All right. I'm back.
My bad, man. This
Nah,
phone
nah.
this
You
phone
can.
overheated.
Oh yeah, it looked like it's a little toasty out there.
Yeah, I had to move inside.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Little commercial break.
Yes, sir. A little intermission. But yeah, all that was good stuff, man. And so what you was previously mentioning about how the school system was kind of effed up,
Uh-huh.
that just goes to what I was mentioning about what type of spirit we're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? A person that would even care enough about that. Not only
Mm.
for yourself, but you could see that it's a flaw for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And we know that there's a history of people just wanting to label us educated, mental retarded, and all that type of
Right,
stuff.
right, 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 right,
And it's
right.
simply that we got creatives that don't learn this way. I don't learn the way you teach it. And I got three sons. You know what I'm saying? Three sons and a baby girl. So so I don't know if you can remember them. They were young when that night we were out there, but
Mm-hmm.
so at the time, the middle son, Zay, they brought this dude nothing traditional learning by him. So we homeschool him. So
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to sit at the desk. He's going to sit on the desk and learn.
Right, right, right,
So
right.
whatever you tell him to do, it's not out of rebellion. It's just he needs to do it the opposite way because that's just the way he wants to do it. And I can't just be like, no, sit at the desk like I said. That's kind of deconstructing his creativity. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell him, like, so you know what? One day we're going to see you on a magazine talking about you're going to be the top businessman of 20,
Uh-huh.
whatever, 2030, whatever. And you're going to be
Right.
sitting on your desk. You know,
Yep.
so we
Yep.
encourage him to do things the way he feels and the way he wants to. So, yeah, man, I definitely tilt my hat off to that. And you, at such a young age, you already understood that, like, nah, this ain't the right way to do things. So, yeah, man.
So
Yeah. But going off of what you were mentioning about you know, your father and how he was sort of like a gateway to your influences. How was y'all relationship? How were you and your father growing up?
I think it's interesting because I could see a lot of my granddad in him, but
Mm-hmm.
I could also see kind of that push to be greater. You know, like not only a greater son to his dad, a greater father to me, but also to be a greater person. And I think whether I think when you have that mindset of like I have to be great, and you can apply it to all facets of life and not just a great business person or a great artist, I think I think you don't even have to try to understand the lessons you go through, because by just simply saying I want to be great, you know whatever you're going through is a lesson. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if it's a hurdle, if you know it's a success, you know that it's all part of that mentality, and you don't even need to look at it like, how do I do that again, or how do I avoid that? You just kind of are open to it always happening.
Right.
And I think I learned that from him. I mean, he set a big example in my life, man. He was at Howard studying molecular genetics, and every time I would tell my friends' parents that's what my dad does, they like, what is that? You know, and it's like when I saw their reaction, I was like, oh shit, like he must be doing something special.
Right, right,
So
right, right,
so
right.
he was doing that shit, and then decided to open a restaurant in DC while studying, and
Wow.
not just one restaurant, two. And it was amazing to see that, but then to see my granddad come up to DC from Louisiana to help him out,
Wow.
because it felt like he was inspired by the shit he was doing. So
Wow.
it's like, okay, I peep all of that, and in society, this is why society has got to just open up, man, because society would tell you, well, you still have to, as a black person, you still have to, and not even just black, as a person, you still have to hold someone who is a father to a certain standard, or, and I'll go a step further and say someone who's a parent, a mother, a parent, you have to hold them to this standard that's not even real. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Because there is no perfect example. It's
Right,
it's
right.
just it's just whoever they decided to be. That's the example. And now it's up to you. And this is what I like to tell him, because I told my dad this last summer, because we were in LA last summer too, and we were at this sushi spot, and I looked at him, and I said, "Yo, like I said, Dad, I'm the only person that could say you a good father." And that shit blew my mind, because it's like all this shit he's done professionally, and as a person, he's been successful. But the definition of success for a father resides in me as a son. And
Yep.
that shit blew my mind, man.
Yes, sir.
It was like, man, and me
Uh,
being who I am, and realizing that, I didn't use it to my advantage. I didn't try to manipulate. I sat back with that thought, and I was like, man, well, okay. And look, to go even aside, they had this saying. I'm gonna get the names wrong because it's like a tongue twister. But
right.
they say what Sally says about Sarah says it's more about Sally than Sarah. Some bullshit like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You
But
ever
we
heard that? You ever
get
heard
the
that
gist.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, we get the gist. I never heard it, but I definitely get the gist.
So
Yeah,
I say, okay, hold on. I gotta sit with this thought, because like
yeah,
if I immediately react and say he a good dad, he a bad dad, I'm coming from a selfish
yeah.
standpoint
Right,
rather than seeing a whole relationship. So
right.
man, so fast forward to the following, I think it was October of that same year, I got blessed with this fellowship to go to Austria to study creative innovation with a whole bunch of people my age, around my age, from all around the world, and and I and this is a long story, but I met somebody in Stockholm I think a few months before. My partner, my wife's sister, was studying abroad in Stockholm. So her family flew us out there with them, and that was just all love. So I was thankful for that. But I brought my typewriter, and I'm walking around Stockholm, and I met this lady who has a paper shop, and we got to talking, and she said, it would be great if you came back, in a few months to do a show. And I said, yeah, right. I can't. That's impossible. I'm here off of the love of my partner's parents. I can't afford this shit. So So that passed. I came back. I applied to this fellowship and got it. And so I asked the people of this fellowship in Austria. I said, "Yo, can y'all fly me out to Stockholm a week early so I can do this art show?" And they said, "Yeah, you know what? It's actually cheaper if we did that." So I said, "Oh shit!"
No.
So I took this trip to Stockholm. I did my first ever art exhibit. And so when I was there setting up, I came to the gallery early. I noticed one thing about myself: whenever I'm nervous about something, I'm super early because I gotta process it.
Analyze
I
the
gotta
whole thing.
I
Yeah.
gotta analyze everything.
I know,
So
like
I was early.
likewise.
Yes, yeah. So I sat outside of this park, and I'm sitting in here. I'm sitting at this park, and something said, "Hey, everybody you look at while they walking around in your mind, say you love them." I said, "What?" I said, "Okay, so I'm gonna try it." So I was looking at these people. I said, I love you in my mind. I love you. I love you. And then slowly I started becoming aware that my mind was still trying to find a reason as to why I'm saying I love you to these strangers. Oh,
Hmm.
you love them because that person's attractive, or you love them because you like their shoes, or they look like they have a nice life. And I said, oh no, that's not love. So I did that exercise, and then I realized the lesson in that was if I can meet anybody I'm meeting, or during that first interaction, if I can say it in my mind that I love them, whatever we talk about, I can it can kind of be its own thing. I don't have to try to judge it or analyze it. It could just be what it is. And so I was thinking about that, and then it dawned on me. It said, "Damn, as an adult, I never told my dad I love him.
Mm.
After all this shit he done did for me, I never told him I love him as an adult." And so
Man.
when I got back to the States, and this was October. So fast forward to July of this year, I did an exhibit on the 4th. It was called, and this is my first exhibit I did in the States. It was called "Say It, I Love Black People." And the whole premise of that was tied in with the protests and the murder of George Floyd. This was kind of my response to it. So I did it in this white neighborhood, but it was open to anybody. But for some reason, a lot of white people showed up, and so when they walked in, I would say "I love you" to these white folks, and some of the white people would be like, "Damn, like what you mean you love me, man? All this shit is going on. You supposed to be angry." I said, well, my granddad, my dad, all of them, they were angry. I think they worked their asses off to give me a level playing field so that I could see you for who you are, and like, I'm not about to have what you think. I'm not about to be who you think I am, like, and
That's
so
that's
that blew people's minds. I mean, and that
yeah.
we could talk about that after, but just to keep on track with my dad, I dedicated that show to him. So when he came to check it out, him and my mom, and he saw that I dedicated it to him. And then I looked at him and I said, I love him. He sat with it. He said, I love you too. And from that moment, bro, like the whole relationship just grew. It was
Yeah.
just like boom.
That
And
was
it's not to say
closed
it
door that
never
was finally open.
what it's not it's not to say it was never not love.
Yeah.
But once you start acknowledging shit and just
Yeah.
paying the respect, being responsible, accountable, it it just has this growth that is just like you can't put that shit into words. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. No
and
doubt.
then and then I mean that's pretty much how I feel. About him. And of course we had man. Any as I think somebody put it on Instagram a while back, like our fathers, their fathers, they were never taught to be open emotionally
Right.
because of society and how hard they had to work and the things they had to deal with. If they were emotional, they would have broke down. They would have probably like who knows, you know what I mean? Because society was not set up, and I mean, not even that. Nobody taught them how to be emotional. I mean, we had to guard that shit because the world was attacking us on all other fronts.
Yeah, it was so
And,
tumultuous, man. It was like, just like you said, maybe it was just the time that it was time for them to be hard. You know what I'm saying?
yep,
They had to, because it broke down. It's like
yep,
you seeing soldiers falling around you. You know what I'm saying? Or it's just certain people might say something to you that get your feelings hurt. You had to be like, man, you had to be tough enough to knock
let
that
that shit
off.
roll. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, and that's interesting, man. I'm thinking as you're talking, I can recall one time that I told my pops I love him.
Mm,
Kind of like on some, yeah, whatever. I love you.
mm,
You know
mm-hmm,
what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
But like, no, to genuinely be like, man, you know what, bro, I love you. You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying?
mm-hmm,
And that's something. And I did a video a while back about that. Well, my father, he's not as he don't have the same strength that he used to. He had a couple of
mm,
I would
mm,
have taken
mm,
strokes or whatever. And he's very dependent on us, you know.
mm-hmm.
And I was taking him to pay his light bill one time, under the Claiborne Bridge. I mean, not the Claiborne, but under the Interstate Bridge. You know what that's about. And there's
Uh-huh,
homeless people out there. So I
uh-huh.
was, driving or whatever. I'm looking like, damn, if my pops didn't have me or
Mm,
my mom or certain people that he could depend on, he could quite possibly be up under this bridge too, because he don't really know how to handle certain things the way he did.
mm.
I dedicated a video to him. You know what I'm saying? And my mama said she let him see it because he don't know nothing about social media. He don't know how to operate all that. So she showed him the video and she said he cried. And I was like,
Ooh,
oh
yeah,
man,
yeah,
don't do that. Don't do that. I'm
yeah,
glad I didn't see it because I'd have cried. To hell with y'all, I'd have
yeah,
cried.
man.
But
Yeah, man.
because like you said, it's there. We got love for each other, but we don't necessarily acknowledge it to each other.
Right,
And that
right,
has to
right.
happen. That's a door that just has to be open. And that's what happened with you and your pops, man. I'm glad y'all was able to do that. And I'm glad I was able to share some things about my pops, that made him feel warm inside. And that actually elevated our relationship as well. So yeah, definitely
Man.
we gotta do that. And when we do things like that, that's equipping us to better raise our children.
Exactly,
So,
exactly, man. My mom and dad called me this morning. I mean, not this morning. A little while ago, and they prepping for the
storm.
hurricanes that are coming. Yeah, and we got on the topic of I think Trump, and then we got into the topic of like, well, what's the plan? And we talked about the black community, and then we got into just the family. And my daughter's mom is white, so we had this whole conversation of, well, you just like my mom was talking, just like your dad, because my mom is from Trinidad by way of India, so I'm Indian and black, and so to have that growing up, that was a dynamic. But my mom's side kind of assimilated into white culture, taking up their standards and saying, and she says it now. She's like, I was under that mindset, white is right. And then, it was a lot of arguments at the dinner table coming up because my dad is on the whole other side of it of, well, like what they know and what they teach Americans and what they try to teach us about, Jesus being white or white is a superior race. All of that is bullshit.
Right.
Like because he studied molecular genetics, he hit me with like, "Yo, Chris, you know what albinos are, right?" He's like, I was like, "Yeah, like they lack pigmentation." He said, "Yeah, they're mutants." And he said, "Well, white people, they lack melanin." And so we got into growing up, man. He would tell me all this stuff about like the gene deficiency and how all of this stuff was created to compensate for that lack or for that supposedly inferiority. So it's so interesting, like having that perspective, having my mom's perspective, and then to have my own, but then to also have a child with a white woman, and then having to raise her. And my mom was like, uh, I hope that you instill what we have taught you into your daughter. And I said, well, I'm not worried about her. And my mom misunderstood me when I said that I'm not worried, because what I was trying to say was, so Leia's going to be exposed to it all as who I am. I'm not going to try to tell her one way is better or worse or wrong or right. I'm just going to show her. I'm going to put her into this world with her own perspective and guide her, but let her figure out what she wants to take from everybody. And that's what I'm trying to. And I think that's what I did growing up. Like I would hear, like my parents, man, they put me in an all black elementary school, and then I went to an all Spanish middle school, and then I went to an all white high school. So I saw how, and these were all
All
private
kinds of
schools,
fun. Yeah.
but these were all private. These are where all parents paid for their education, and
Uh,
I'm seeing how classism, I'm seeing how racism divided everybody, and I'm like, man, like I'm so thankful that I was able to have friends who thought like me, but if they didn't, they still allowed me to be me. They would make fun of me like, oh man, like in the black school, whenever I would like something that wasn't the
right. Right.
norm, oh man, you trying to be white. And I
Yeah.
said, no, man, that's the shit I like.
I
And
like
it's
that.
just it's just it's just so interesting because the black kids were taught to think like that. Just
Yeah.
like the white people. The white people at school be like, oh, are you here on the athletic scholarship? I'm like, no, my parents pay for me to be here just like you.
Right.
And they like, oh, and it's just so interesting because when I would, man, I had my mom brought this up today in theology class. I wrote and said Jesus was black in the first paragraph of the paper, and my teacher gave me a C, and I was making A's in that class. And my
Right.
parents came up. My parents came up to the school and they said, why did my son get a C? And she tried to say, oh, grammar, or it was late. And,
Oh,
and we over here looking at this teacher like, we know why you gave me a C.
yeah.
And it's
For
so
Christ.
interesting. It's so interesting, man, because like the system is set up like this, but it's just a system.
Right.
Like that's what I think a lot of us don't give time to consider, that it is a system. We could fight it if we want to. We could dismantle it, but it's just a system. It's like a iPhone. When the shit needs an upgrade, we hit the upgrade button. So the system is going to upgrade, but you still
Right.
got to realize there's a whole other way of living outside of the system.
Right.
And like how you doing with your son homeschooling. Yes, there's still tests that he have to take to meet whatever the educational curriculum standard is. And granted, you're able to at least instill in him a education that's way more beneficial to who he is. But it's like there's a whole way of living. Like I remember, man, when I started doing my poetry, I stopped using my cell phone. So whenever people would want to get in contact with me, I would say, okay, let's pick a day, let's pick a time, let's pick a place, and I'm gonna be there. And I had to learn how to live by my word instead of depending on my phone. And then it really helped me realize how I can, like, yeah, I mean, you can look back at history. We did this shit before the cell phones. But it's just like remembering that there's certain ways to maneuver, even though the system is upgrading and changing and we fight that battle, there's still a way of doing things. Like I think that's why people love this typewriter, because first off, a lot of people have never seen a typewriter, and second of all, that typewriter only works with my energy. Whatever I'm thinking, that typewriter is going to type. It's not going to have a spell check or
Right.
a Google search engine for me to go look some shit up.
Gives you
And
full power.
so
Yeah.
and so that, I think I appreciate that shit about like our parents. That's why it's so important to have, not if you don't have your parents, at least somebody who's a slightly older to just hip you to the way things were moving, or how they see it, and it's just. And then also the flip side is children, man. The children are way ahead of us, and they can tell us how shit is going, and it's just like,
So with that being said, how important is it to empower your kids to use their creative energy, or to be creatives?
I mean, I think, man, that's just like, I mean,
Because it gives them power, just like you said. It's like, so so it's one thing to understand your power and understand what. So just take a parent like you or a parent like me to inject all this in them, and then have to go, like I always say, nothing wrong with jobs, But for one, let it be a job that you absolutely love, that is
Mhm.
part of your gift. Or
Mhm.
two, just use that job to to build upon your own gifts to do your own thing. But if we sending them out to work a job where they're gonna hate, it's kind of confusing them to like my parents are instilling this in me. Then I have to go work a job that I necessarily don't like, don't give a shit
Mhm.
about. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Same for school. Like you give me a C for sharing myself or giving my creative thoughts about anything. You give me a
Mhm.
C. That cause some type of animosity or confusion. So
Mhm.
I think it's important for us as parents to understand if we're gonna inject this this ownership, creativity, power, and we're gonna inject that serum in them. We got to make sure that they understand. Okay, now you have to walk into your creative gifts. You know what I'm saying? Let your creativity and let your gifts make room for you in the world. So
Mhm.
that's pretty much what why I was asking the question. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I definitely think it's important to empower our children. I mean, my parents did it. You know, they would in the context of race, they say, you know, you always have to work twice as hard as the white man and or the white person. And so I took that and I ran with it to a degree. Uh, but then I'm sitting here listening to you, and it's like our children are the evolution of who we are, you know. And so, how do we give them the responsibility to take that and stand on their own? You know, like I never forget the day when like I would go, like my parents would take us out to eat, and I order whatever I wanted, you know, because I knew they were paying for it, and sometimes wouldn't eat the food. And then when it was my turn, when I finally had the opportunity to pay, you know, for the food that I was eating, and I ate it all, and I enjoyed it, and it was different. Imagine that with our children in terms of like allowing them to create. Um, this is just abstract or a hypothetical. Let's say like we tell our children they got to be independent. What if they created a chore for the parents to do? You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like seeing that who they are in the household is just as important as the mom and dad. Not
yeah.
to say, oh well, when you get older you'll understand. See, that shit used to make me mad as a child. Like, oh, when you get older you'll see what I mean. Well, when I get older, the world gonna be totally different. You know, and
Yeah.
it's like I need to know now. I need to know. I need to understand now the consequences and also the successes of my input. You know, like
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
you know what I mean? Like we
And
had like
kids don't have they don't know how to articulate it. They don't know how to
no.
explain that. But to the
No, but that's the beautiful thing about children. There's, and I think that's what a lot of us as adults who have been oppressed or distracted or like worked at different jobs that we didn't love, and we realized later on that children are all action.
yeah,
They
yeah,
do it. You know what I mean? And like we kind of get wrapped up in where you gotta have a plan. You gotta have a plan. You gotta have a reason. You gotta be able to articulate it. But all that shit comes with experience. We finally realize how to articulate what we want and don't want after going through it so many times. Children, like my daughter, man, she knows about 4 words to get herself out of the house. She's like shoes, come on, door. And like she knows that she needs to use those words because she needs me to help her put her shoes on and
yeah.
open the door and
Right,
open the door. Now, if she didn't need me to do those two things, she would have already been outside.
right,
You know,
right.
and so it's like we set up kind of these things that uh slow down or hold up their process of at the end of the day, man, all they want to do is be a part of the unit. You know, like they children realize, like for instance, when my daughter first met her brother, the attraction and the love she had for him was instant. She knew that was her brother. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, and so to me, it's just like I think once we teach our children, well, you know, you are the child, I'm the adult because I said so, or this is my house. We get those things, but we got to question where that came from.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, though, like once again, like that whole thing of the parents used to say, "I brought you in this world, I can take you out." I remember my friends and I remember like my little brothers. They said, "Well, I never asked to be here." And so when parents would hear that, they like, "Oh shit,"
Yeah,
because that's how hip and how quick we learn this shit. But think about if we truly allowed our children freedom, how the house will elevate. You know what I mean? Like it's just like if you take it back to like I may be creating this. I don't know how accurate it is, but if you take it back to hunting and gathering, and the father would always go out and hunt, and then finally taught their child how to hunt. Now they doubled their chances of getting food. But like if you really take that mindset to allowing a child freedom and creativity, imagine how expansive the house will become. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like it's and I think we think like that, but only in certain moments of like maybe like like how like chores, like household tasks. Like if I teach my child how to sweep, the house will be a little cleaner, and that's cool. That's a great way to show responsibility and taking care. But how do you help that or foster that creatively? Like you know what I mean, or like individuality. You know, like how do we really operate a home? Because I think that's all. Like I think I'm learning a lot about that with this quarantine, like being in the house. I know my daughter. I mean, my daughter really doesn't have she has no responsibilities, but like if she knocks something off the table, we'll say, "Hey, pick that up," or "Hey, can you throw this in the trash can?" Just
mhm,
showing her what the house is set up like. But I think what if we really tried to upgrade the home, man? Because I think we're doing that educationally. We realize when we send our children to school, they're not really learning what they need to be learning, or it kind of goes against what we're teaching them. But what is it like? What is a good, stable, or what does a modern home look like? Not in the sense of discipline and chores, but just and because I mean, my son plays a video game all day, and sometimes I get upset. I'm like, man, like, won't we? This is me venting on like how I could be a better dad in that situation. It's like I need to figure out how to get him to create a video game,
yeah,
or just use a different part of his muscle when it comes to video games. You don't always have to play it. You can create one, or like because it's just interesting. I mean, the video games have adapted. I mean, it now costs to play video games. Like
right,
like I
right.
got to give my son money to play video games.
Download,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? And
yeah,
so they have adapted. How are we doing it? You know what I mean?
yeah. So I definitely, and I always, for as chores and things of that nature, I always make it to the point. Okay, well, look, you are going to have to know how to keep yourself and your house clean one day. So this
Yeah.
is your house more than it is our house.
Right.
So anything, especially a room, in the morning, you got to clean your room because
Mhm. Mhm.
that's your domain. You want to keep a clean domain. So it's just making sure that they understand that it's theirs, and not just, oh, I said clean this, I want this clean. No,
Right.
this is your stuff. You got to take care of your stuff. And also, like as far as gaming goes, I don't allow gaming as much, but I do allow gaming. It's just a source of fun. Kids
Right.
need
Right.
fun.
Right.
But I'm about to put a timer on that shit because
Oh
kids
yeah,
are doing
man. I mean,
all
all day,
day. So what we
all
do,
day.
we have so they have so like I said, they're homeschooled. So a part of their lesson is an hour of coding, like coding, learning how to code games or whatever
Yes.
for 1 hour. So I've noticed that there's some games that they allow you to play on there. So they'll try to slick side. Oh, well, we doing our coding. No, you're not
Yeah.
playing. So you do
Yeah.
30 minutes of your coding and do 30 minutes of the game, and that's a wrap. So you have have your movie time, your screen time, and whatever. Because it's one thing about freedom, we could give it, but you can't give too much to a child because they don't have that rationale. Like, oh, this is enough. This is enough. I don't want to overindulge. No, a kid not gonna think that. A kid gonna like, look, I'm
Mhm.
getting this goodness. I'm gonna keep it going till the wheels fall off. So
For real. For real.
and that's all a part of managing and parenting. But yeah, I definitely agree. Though I agree, man. Especially with making our children understand that look, it's just you have your creativity, and it's not just me being the tyrant or the bully.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
have to make them understand where we're coming from instead of just saying, "Oh, because I said so." That's like, well, they're like, well, I need some. logic behind that. I need to understand that. So I definitely agree. I definitely agree, man.
'Cause-
But yeah, so I'm with you on that too. My baby girl, they have a collection of words. That
oh yeah,
I got these words I'm gonna use. It's an open door.
come on.
She gonna take a ride. The
Yep.
car, she know a car. So yeah, and we have to understand that and know that okay, they're developing. At such a very young age that they are developing understanding. So when they're 10, like their understanding is way much more than what we realize. So we have to, accommodate their understanding, you know what I'm saying? Not just, oh, I said so, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Let's see. So what the conversation on kids, how do you balance it all? How do you balance your creative endeavors with fatherhood? How do you
Well,
balance it?
I definitely have to just to get this out first because I'm learning how to be a good partner.
Oh
I
yeah,
gotta shout out the woman. I gotta shout out the
no
partner.
doubt,
Can't
no doubt. We
can't
don't get
can't.
enough of that on here. No doubt, no doubt, no
Hey,
doubt.
I can't look, man. I don't know how to juggle. Um, but I definitely have to give a. I mean, I can't. I mean, shit, man. I'm so appreciative to have a good, understanding partner. That's
Yes, sir.
powerful to have somebody who understands how important
Shout
it
out to
is
the women.
my creativity. You know how important it is to me, but also just uh, I think just really having a good sense of my time and realizing that if I can't sit down and write a poem or paint, I'm still letting that creativity flow, hanging out with my daughter and my partner.
Mm.
But I mean, man, like I'm up at night, man. When they go to sleep, I'm up until about 3 in the morning, painting, writing, listening to what I need to listen to be inspired. Getting shit out of my head.
Right.
Um, Before Soleil, and I was in my relationship, I mean, I never turn it off, man. I mean, my mind is always going. Um, and like the psychology really taught me how to train my brain to just filter and understand my creative process. I do these workshops where, like I sit at a bar back when it was open, or I sit in public spaces and I'm listening to people talk and just creating poems like that. Um, it was interesting because as a poet and as a writer, there's so much in the words and there's so much in my thoughts when it comes to like my family. Um, I have to kind of like turn off that not turn it off, but push it to the side because words like word I think poets really have a different relationship with words than the everyday person.
Mm-hmm.
An everyday person has like a vocabulary that they use to get through their day. A poet's vocabulary is almost just endless. Like it's everybody. A poet is supposed to try to relate to everybody. And so I think part of me realized that, like with my family, allowing them space in my mind, to understand who they are, to hear them and listen to them. So I started painting. So to give them space in my mind, I had to like tone down a little bit of the abstract. I think I'm very abstractual and ideal. I play around in idealism. So I'm just like, I started painting. So the painting has really helped me out with all the words that I can't get out or think about at that time. I'm painting or I'm looking at colors. Um, but I would say, I guess, just having like my partner, um, a good schedule, and then just, I mean, man, like no sleep. Honestly, like I probably get about 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep. Some days I'll just shut down and just either focus on my family and then rest. But if not, man, I'm just up at night writing, painting, um, And then morning, I wake up I wake up at like 5, 6, try to like get some reading in then, and then and then kind of coordinate everything with the family. Like when she sleeps, I'll do a little bit of work. Um, but it's a balance, man. Because like if the family is off, the creativity is off.
Yeah, I know that.
Everything is off. So
Sure.
it's kind of just a scheduling and just a focus that I kind of just sharpen and work on. I did this fast where I didn't eat food. I drank. It's called that Master Cleanse. I
Mhm.
did that, and that really helped. Kind of just. I think it's really all about just the time management and how, like, because
Yeah,
a lot of us will put energy in food. We'll take like an hour, 2 hours to either eat. I mean, I'm sorry, cook, prep the food to cook, eat, clean up, do the dishes, digest. That takes about two. So like, when I did this fast, I skipped.
yeah.
I saved 2 hours, man, and just
Good
put all
point.
that right back into work.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
Uh,
good point. That's
but
definitely a good point. Yeah, but just like you say, scheduling is key, man.
mhm, 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 mhm,
And waking up early too. Me myself, I
mhm,
wake up 4:30. I have to.
mhm, mhm,
So if I
mhm,
don't, it's things just not gonna go exactly. And not to say that I'm like picky about that, but I just would rather the day go as planned. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
It's
mhm,
just
mhm,
to stay on top of creativity, not just creativity, but even the family itself, because you have a schedule for family and creativity, like dealing with photography and even coaching here and there. Did photography, videography for capturing the family. Like, all that I can intertwine that. So I can either so scheduling. Okay, this is the time we're gonna do for my personal projects, and this is the time we're gonna use for family projects. And the family projects is family time within itself. So scheduling is very, very, very important. Very important. Um, so what you usually do for mental health, or like how they say me time or time to
mhm.
yourself. How do you approach that? What do you usually do?
Um, this I mean, I can only think back really. The beginning of the quarantine. I wake up. I go for either a walk. I like to walk and read, so I wake up early, walk and read. I get coffee. I picked up cigars, so I smoke a cigar with a friend of mine, and we kind of either talk about the plan for the day or plan for the month, plan for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you should reach out to him too, Alan Van Norton. I don't know if you know him from Still Learning. That's a big homie.
Alan Van Norton.
We do some cigars and coffee in the morning and just talk about because he has 4 kids. He and we talk about all that. Let's see what else I do. I listen to this cat named Krishna Murti. Man, this dude is like a philosopher, and just the way he talks through these topics like love, wealth, self. Old cat. I mean, he passed away in the '80s, but just the way his mind works, and he allows you time to think. It's not about, oh, I have this question and I got the answer. You ready for it? It's more so there is no answer other than what you have. And so I just like thinking like that. Wine. I'm a big wine dude. I like to.
Oh, yeah.
I just did this. I did this. Oh man, I did this. I have this partnership with this lady. She's a sommelier, and she puts together wine boxes, and I write poems that go kind of however I'm feeling as I drink these wines, and
That's
she
dope.
sends. So that's been cool to do. Sleep. I try to catch a little nap when I can. After I do a lot of thinking, so if I have a good idea, I go to sleep with it. So I like, look, man, I got to think, so I'm gonna go to sleep and think about this idea.
Right.
And honestly, man, my poetry and my art, my creative process, that's me time to the fullest. Just
Yeah.
being able to paint and
Yeah.
write. Uh, you know.
Yeah. I was thinking that for you, probably that what you do is probably the best
Uh huh. Uh huh.
mental health exercises. You know what I'm saying?
It definitely is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, I think that's a wrap for us, bro.
Okay. Oh, that glass must be empty,
Ah,
huh?
oh, trust me, if that was the case, y'all would see me pulling up right on screen. You know, yeah. So, and then
Yeah.
that's part of it too. Sometimes, like that's if I can mention what I do for me time, I'll just grab a drink or something and just have time to myself. Cause
Mhm.
having 4 kids, bedtime is 8:30 on the dot, not
Mhm.
8:31, not 8:40, not 9 o'clock, 8:30 on the
Look,
dot.
look, since we wrapping up, I'm gonna have my agent come in and make sure everything.
What is it a midget?
Yeah.
Hi. It's so
All
beautiful.
right. You wanna say
Hi.
bye bye? You wanna say hi and bye?
You having a good day?
Oh, hold on. I got these
Oh,
earbuds in.
see.
Question. Let's see. Oh, there he is.
You having a,
Look, ask her again, Amir.
you having a good day?
Oh man, it's still connected to these things.
Well, that's the what they call
Yeah,
them.
I don't know what's. I'm having technical.
Oh, it's all
I'm
good.
having some technical difficulties.
It's all.
He asked you if you having a good day? You having a good day? Oh. There we go.
Hello.
There we go. You say hello?
You having a good day?
You're not sleepy, are you? No.
It's
Oh,
like
you are sleepy.
so precious. So what's next for Cover the Poet, man?
Well, shoot, man. My book just came in, man. I'm gonna go through it. I might send you a copy. The whole premise is I'm sending it to people I want to edit and look at it and tell me what which poems they like and which ones need
Okay.
to be a little more in depth.
Yeah, no
With
doubt.
this
Shoot
book
me.
project and this poetry album, I'm having people the poems I recite for people.
Uh-huh.
I'm having them. I'm sorry, the poems I write for people. I'm having them recite it. So I'm
Okay.
gonna do a little album.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, go ahead on and shoot me one.
I'll do that. Email me your mailing address.
Okay. So where can people
I'll
reach
do that.
that, man? What's social media, website?
Well, everything is the same. You can reach me at Cubs the Poet, CUBS, THEOPOET. Instagram, my website is cubsthepoet.com. Email is cubsthepoet@gmail. Just I'm open, man. If anybody wants a poem, I do custom poems. I also write custom books. I go to weddings or events, and I create these books on the spot for people. I'm the same way with the art, the commission pieces. Just reach out to me. We talk. I'm super open to talking and dialoguing and making sure people get what they want. Um, that's pretty much it.
No doubt. No. Once again, man, I definitely salute you, and I definitely thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure, man.
Black Dad Creatives. No, yeah, Black Dad Creatives. Sometimes I get tongue twisted with that. I don't know why I've been doing this. Black Dad Creatives, man, my dear fathers, and we salute you. Until next time, bro.
All right, man. Look, and be safe with these hurricanes, and thank you for
Oh,
having
yeah.
me.
No doubt, no doubt. We're gonna hunker down. You know what I'm saying? We're in a pretty good area. We're on the
Okay.
outskirts.
Okay. All right.
All right, bro.
All
Well,
right, my man. I'll talk to you later.
no doubt.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you all for tuning in into another episode of Black Dad Creatives, brought to you by Dear Fathers. Salute to all the dope dad creators out there. We'll catch y'all next time.